What's going on, Geeks and Geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown City Geekcast. My name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me, my partner in crime, the guy with the rose on his head. You know what? We'll have to talk about that later. The one and
Hey,
only Matty B.
what's going on, geeks and geekettes? I've actually been super excited all week, and Ted has actually previewed an Easter egg that I have on right now. But we'll get into that later. I'm excited to dig into some of these topics, and definitely let us know in the chat. Let's get it bumping today. Let's chill.
Let's chill. Let's do it. Let's get it. You know how we do. We're going to start off with, we're going to be talking about Andor, episode 10, continuing our Andor discussion. We're also going to be talking about Titans, episode 3. But first, we need to talk about some of the geeky weekly headlines that dropped this week. Not a bunch of huge ones, but just stuff that we need to call out that you probably heard about, that if you want to talk about, if you heard some of your own, drop some of those headlines in the chat. What did you hear about that you think is worth mentioning? We want to hear from you. Like I mentioned, throw those thoughts of yours in the chat. But I'm going to start off with one that really caught my eye. Constantine 2. We already got the announcement that Francis Lawrence is coming back. Kiva Goldman's coming back to produce. Keanu Reeves is going to be making his return as Constantine or Constantine, however you want to say it, for a sequel all these years later. And the fans rejoice as one. The director, though, Francis Lawrence, he actually came out and spoke a little bit about it and says that he's shooting for a hard R rating for the sequel. Maddie,
Hard R.
that must
Wait,
get
hold
your
on.
juices flowing, sir. Right? Right?
Yeah, the hard R, Ted.
That's what he
Jesus.
said.
Uh,
That's what he said.
um, I'm stoked on anything with Keanu Reeves. And it's at any time a character really wants to play it, and he's been vocal about that before. You can see that in his roles as Neo, and you can see that in his roles as John Wick, and you can see it in his want to play, Constantine again. I'm down. And going R rated, I think, fits the story better. I think it'll allow us to get into a little bit of the grit and some of the hard parts of the story that we should want to get into. So I'm stoked. Love it.
Go full blown horror movie. I think the first one you got a lot of that. It really started off with that. Like you really got into the whole exorcist part in the very beginning, that opening sequence that they did. Do that throughout the movie. Like that would be totally awesome if you do a full blown horror movie as a comic book. Is there one that we really got close with? I mean, Doctor Strange 2, they kind of had a few elements of that in there with Wanda chasing them throughout the movie. They tried to do that with the New Mutants. Nobody really watched it, unfortunately, but it was something they were trying to do. Blade has a lot of scary moments in there, but Blade's more of an action type movie. But if they really lead into the scary movie component of a Constantine film, I would be down. Get all the horror freaks out there. There's a ton of them. There's a million of them. If you kind of push it as a big horror blockbuster, I think that actually reaches a much broader audience as opposed to just saying, "Oh, it's a comic book movie." But also, Keanu's like twice as big of a star as he is now than he was before when he did the first one. I know that sounds kind of mean to say, but he's a mega superstar right now. So I think you can't go wrong with it. Legacy Nerd says hard R, juice is flowing.
Oh man, that's hilarious. But I agree with you, Ted, a lot. Legacy Nurse says I watched the New Mutants. It was like they almost got it, but fell off at the end. I could agree to a point there, but on Ted's point of let's bring horror. Let's really get into that. I don't know if it's just because we're coming out of October that maybe I just have a recency bias. but I feel like that the horror genre is it's been big this year. So we've had Dahmer was huge. That's not exactly horror either, but you know what I'm saying. We had a Multiverse of Madness, which kind of tied in some elements that you could consider, in that realm. Even for the episode of Titans that we reviewed last week, episode 2 of that. I think there's a lot of. Uh, I think that's big this year, and I want that to kind of keep going because me and you both are, scary movie heads. So if they keep that going, that's awesome. I don't want it to be like a Blade though, because you're right. Blade is a lot more of an action vampire flick. It's more of like an underworld vibe
Yeah.
than it is a horror type thing. So I hope they make it scary. It would be sick if it was like on the edge of your seat, like, wow, I wasn't really expecting to be scared during this.
I be down. AJ Nightwing, my son, you guys know him if you watch the show during Doctor Strange 2, and he's not gonna like that I'm telling you this, but he was like, "Bro, what's happening, bro? What is going on, bro?" Like, he was worried because Wanda was going off on people. So yeah, it was
Oh yeah.
crazy. Legacy Nerd says I watched New Mutants. It was like they almost got it, but it fell off at the end. Yeah, it started off great, and you're like, wow, this seems interesting. I wonder where it's going, and it didn't go very. It didn't go into an interesting place after that. So yeah, no, I completely agree. But yeah, Constantine, the sequel. The director has another project that he's working on. I forget what it is at the moment, but then he's working on Constantine after that. So let's do a little math here. He's already got one project in the works. It's not a big movie, so let's give it 8 months that he has to write,
Yeah.
produce, direct, release that movie, and then he'll start working on Constantine late 2023. Probably pre-production in the fall. Let's say they go into production late 2023, early 2024. Maybe they have an October release, 2024. I think that's doable. Constantine, you don't need a huge production. The story kind of speaks for itself. I say Legacy Nerd says 2026. Come on, man. That's too far. Come on, you don't want to do that. Hopefully it comes out sooner than 2026, but either way, looking forward to it. Moving on, there was some interesting news that came out recently. There is going to be a traveling orchestra playing Batman tunes going around the world, an international show. The Batman in concert is coming to a city or country near you. If you are watching us from Europe, they're actually going to do a handful of European cities before they head to the U.S. And in the U.S., they're actually going to be doing just another handful of major cities. I think L.A., New York, Chicago, Miami are all on the list. If you want more information, head on over to our Twitter page at CCG underscore podcast, or you can head on over to the DC Comics social media page to find the link on how to buy tickets, and you can see the Batman in concert. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? I would enjoy the hell out of that.
Oh, for sure. And I didn't get the full scoop. I saw the headline that it was happening, but I didn't read into it too far. So maybe you can help confirm some things for me. Are they
Sure.
going to be playing? Are they going to be playing the movie too, or is it just the soundtrack?
I would I don't know for sure, but I would assume they have a screen going on behind the orchestra, kind of playing scenes and clips and all that. I would assume that's what they're gonna do. It would
Yeah.
make
So
sense they would do that.
for sure. So I have personal experience with this type of thing. I saw the Ghostbusters in concert in Portland, Oregon, where they played the movie and then the orchestra, sort of played the soundtrack, even played, some of the background music throughout the thing. It was an awesome experience, and I could only imagine how immersive that experience would be for a grungy soundtrack and sort of a just the gritty feel of the Batman played via orchestra. The only miss for me, I'm looking at the dates now. The only miss for me is that they're not doing a show in Seattle, Washington, um, because I think the feeling of the film would be so awesome. Just a gloomy, rainy night in Seattle. I mean, there's no better city in the states to do it in, I think, and so I think that's a bit of a miss there. Hopefully, it does well enough that they add dates because I would fly to Seattle and watch that there. It's the perfect city for it, but it's going to be awesome. It just is it because Ghostbusters is a fun sort of happy-go-lucky film for the most part after you've seen it a few times. A dark movie like this with the orchestra playing is going to be insane.
Yeah, plus they could do like an orchestral version of "Something in the Way" by
Oh my
Nirvana.
gosh! Oh my gosh!
Hey, hey, in Seattle, that'd be freaking dope. You know what? I haven't been to a lot of these. The one that I saw that I feel like I really missed out on was the Game of Thrones
Mm.
traveling show, and I watched the video where Serge Tatank, I always get his last name wrong, Serge Tatankin from System of a Down, the lead singer of System of a Down, he actually sang the song that was played during the Red Wedding, and he just went off. Like it was moving. It was powerful. If you ever get a chance to check that out, Serge, Game of Thrones live show, and he has that one of a kind voice that's like it's like ear piercing, but it's also like soothing in a way. And he just has an incredible voice, and he sang the hell out of that song. So I kind of feel bad that I missed out on that. He wasn't at every show. I want to say he was only at a couple, and but it just seemed like a huge production, lights, massive stage, massive screens. I should have tried to look into that a little bit more, but yeah, it's all right. Lexi Nerd says that Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze music will be fire. Absolutely. Is that your take for who they're bringing in villain wise for the next one? All right, I see you. I see you making some claims here. Moving on to a story that still sticks within the DC realm and involves Aquaman, of all people. Jason Momoa, who is in the news, but not for the same reasons you might think. He's been posting some videos out on social media where he is talking about just how excited and how stoked he is for a new project that's in development. He calls it a dream project of his, and people are reading into a few other things that new CEO or co-CEO of DC Films, James Gunn, has been putting out there on Twitter regarding the DC character Lobo. Are these two items related? Is Jason Momoa talking about a potential Lobo series, which I've always said he was he would be far better as a Lobo character than Aquaman. He's not bad as Aquaman, but Lobo just feels like it is the absolute perfect character for him. And I also thought that there was another villain that I kind of pictured him as, Vandal Savage. He kind of has the chiseled face look of Vandal Savage. If you put him in the right coat with the high collar, and kind of take the beard off and all that, I feel like he could have pulled off a pretty serious Vandal Savage as well. But alas, he is our Aquaman. But what do you think he's talking about, Matt? Is he talking about a future project involving Aquaman, or do you think this is a completely separate DC character?
I I don't know. I've gone back and forth, and I've obviously taken a few spins around the block of the rumor mill that is Twitter, and so we got that first leak of him being very excited. Not leak, but he released a video of him just being very excited. He mentioned Maestro, and he's freaking out. So that automatically got everyone spinning around, saying the Snyder's coming back. That's what we thought, or not we thought, but that's what kind of the general consensus was. Then I started hearing rumors that he may have gotten a directing role or producing role in one of these films, which some actors want to progress to that, something he would be excited about. And then the Lobo stuff starts coming through, and yeah, he'd be a great Lobo, and it would be awesome. But he's Aquaman. So I don't know how it works. But I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. I don't think that definitely not the first time that an actor would have played two different characters in, um, like in Marvel or DC. I don't think so. I'm okay with it. I would love to see it. I would love to see a Lobo story, first of all, but I want to snuff out these Snyder rumors a little bit. He seemed a little bit overly excited to take on a Lobo role. Do you think he's that big of a Lobo fan? Do you think
I
he maybe? I mean, what
I
would he be
do.
that excited? It seemed like he was like, everything that I was planning on for Aquaman is going to actually come true now, and I don't have to worry about all this other stuff because Snyder's coming back. That seemed like a more reasonable excitement level to be at than to take on this character. I mean, I don't know. I would
No, no,
be
no. You're
okay with
not
any.
wrong. You're not wrong. He used the word maestro, right? And he's calling out to somebody. We all know that he's speaking to somebody specifically, whether that's Zack Snyder, whether that's James Gunn, maybe there's somebody else who he refers to as maestro. It could be. But I think I have heard him say, like in an interview, that he is a massive, massive Lobo fan. Like every single comic, all that good stuff out there. So I could see it. I could see two. I could see a number of things happening. Maybe it's Zack Snyder coming back to direct a Lobo project, and he's gonna be Lobo. Like that. That could also be a possible thing. Jenna Kenobi's in the chat saying hello there, and he's asking, "Is the Snyderverse still a thing?" Haha. Well, sir, you laugh, but I'm just kidding. The Snyderverse is very much going to probably be modified, if you will. We spoke about this a few weeks back when like all the DC news was dropping. I think there's people that think the Snyderverse is never coming, and there's people that think the Snyderverse is coming back. I think there's something in the middle that's going to happen where Snyderverse movies will be canon. The additional movies that we've seen since then are going to be canon. Shazam, The Suicide Squad, uh, Wonder Woman 84 for some whatever reason. But I think you have to modify what the original plan was regarding the Snyderverse. That way it makes sense. There won't be like the next plan, which was supposed to be Justice League 2 coming out. Boom. And then Justice League 3 coming out. Boom. And that was going to be sort of the entire plan, as if you will. I think they modify it, they change it, they alter it, they use elements of it, but they need to extend it. They don't want a 5-year DC Comics universe plan. They want a 10-year, 12-year plan. And so they'll change it accordingly. And we've already talked about James Gunn in length. He's the right guy to do it. Yeah, definitely. Legacy Nerd says, he was attached to Lobo forever. He might be excited that it's just happening and maybe he is producing it. It could be, but I feel like he's the kind of guy that wouldn't pass up this opportunity, right? And the only reason why people are bringing up Lobo to begin with, we kind of mentioned it earlier, is that James Gunn actually shared a picture of Lobo, and I'm trying to find out. Yeah, I'm trying to find out where exactly that happened. But anyways, he shared a picture of Lobo, and he said, I think the caption was "Glad to be here." That's what James said. Here it is. Let me show it right here. So this is James Gunn teasing everybody with a shot of Lobo, and now everybody's thinking, oh my god, there's a Lobo movie coming out, and this is around the same time that Jason Momoa was saying, oh my god, my dream project is coming. And so maybe the two aren't related, but if you know you ask any fan, they're definitely related. And Jason Momoa is out here about to wreck shop as Lobo, and so if it happens, that's fantastic. If it doesn't, that's no problem at all. But you're gonna have to pick a pretty big, charismatic guy to play Lobo, and I don't know how many more guys like Jason Momoa there are out there.
Yeah, and the hair.
Yep, and the hair,
So it's all about the hair.
absolutely,
But yeah, I'm cool with it either way. I like being excited about what might happen. I haven't been like for the past couple of years we haven't had anything to sort of um, be waiting on bated breath for. So I like this refreshing sort of tone that we have, even just after James Gunn coming in, teasing little photos. Maybe it never even happens, playing with the fan base a little bit. Jason Momoa sending out some of these videos. I'm just appreciative that there's a little bit of hype and not just hate around DC because it's just nice to. It's a little bit refreshing. So I like where it's going. I don't care what they do. I just want to see what they do, and they'll get my money when it happens.
absolutely. Legacy Nerd says it's about George R. R. Martin, and they're doing a Dothraki prequel. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Probably not, but that would be interesting. I mean, probably something that they're not doing. I don't know if HBO would go for that, but
Well, it's hard with
not a bad
Legacy
idea.
and it's hard with Legacy and General Kenobi because they're so knowledgeable that maybe they know something I don't, or they're just you can't tell when they're trolling or not. Two
They
two
got the
consummate
deets.
professionals.
They got the deets.
They had a great show
Awesome.
last night, and they're on their way too. Shout out to Legacy and General Kenobi. I think they were teaming up to get General Kenobi. I think it was running a contest or a giveaway to get some subscribers up. So definitely go check out General Kenobi's Bunker on YouTube and Legacy of Nerd on YouTube as well. Great friends of the program, so go show them some support.
Those boys are awesome. All right, we're gonna get into some additional topics at the end of the show that happened over the weekend, but we're actually gonna get into our um, Titans TV talk right now. Titans episode 3. You know how we do. Before we get into a TV show, we do a summary, and this one goes a little something like this. We catch up with Raven, who we can confirm has lost all of her powers. Grayson needs advice with this dark magic user, so he visits Jinx in prison, but she's also able to escape and attempts to steal a valuable artifact, which turns Corey, into stone. Beast Boy is hearing messages calling him a skinwalker from the Red, which is where he gets his abilities from in the comics. Shout out to Legacy Nerd who called that.
Mhm.
Connor is a real detective on the team, searching for a lead on what killed two security guards earlier in the day. He locates a guy named Sebastian who has ties to the other victims, and he and Nightwing break him out of jail before Mother Mayhem's accomplice can turn him. Awesome. So, Titans, episode 3, the story is unfolding a little bit. The Sebastian character is really out of the loop on what's happening to him. Again, shout out to Legacy, who called out that Beast Boy was getting messages from the Red, which is pretty cool. Nightwing had a great little fight scene in here. They go to meet this like mystic elf, and I thought he's in the wrong place to really start any trouble, but dude held his own. This fight with Grayson in this like dark club or whatever it was, club from like Blade or something. This fight was more interesting than like any other fights that I've seen on this series so far. Like whoever they got to choreograph this one, more stuff like this, because he's doing more interesting things. The move where he like grabs onto the chandelier and like kicks a couple of dudes in the face with like spinning while hanging on it, like that was cool stuff. More stuff like that. Matty B, your thoughts on episode 3?
It kind of brought us down from the high that episode one and two were pretty action packed, I thought, and so this one kind of returned us back to a bit of a slow burn, and it kind of let's get back to the story at hand here and kind of fleshing out some of the relationships with the characters. I really like that fight with Nightwing. I agree with you, Ted, but I think to this point, episode three, we've only seen Nightwing and Raven in combat.
Possibly.
I think those are the only two characters we've actually seen fight. We get to see, um, the training sequence there, and so that was all fun and well. I did kind of like the return to the gritty tone that Titans is setting here, and the scissors to the eyes, the setup of the meeting for the video game. I I mean that scissors to the eyes scene, Ted, is cringeworthy. And they didn't just
But in
like
a good
hold it.
way. In a good
Yeah,
way.
but they didn't just do he holds it close to his eyes and then it goes over and his body hits the floor and there's blood coming out of his eye. They did a full penetration scene. And it was in penetration scene. See, we are on it tonight. Okay. Whoa.
The
But no,
juices are flowing.
yeah. But it was good. But again, here we are out here with Beast Boy in the Woods. We haven't progressed that one bit. I think he was doing that in episode 1, 2, and now it's the same thing in 3. Now he has Raven with him this time, so he has a little bit of help because she can see with him, and they're clearly going to kind of work this out together. But he's just been kind of standing out there in the woods, not doing much, and just kind of getting these voices. So I'd like to see a payoff for that here soon. I don't want another slow burn episode for episode 4, but it definitely dialed it back. This wasn't my favorite episode of the season. There's only 3 episodes, I know that, but I really liked 1 and 2. I thought were great paced and everything. Again, this is a bit of a slow burn for me.
Did anybody else watch that episode and the scissors scene? Listen, I pretty much screamed a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I screamed a little bit because Sebastian's there, like looking at the guys, like, "Hey, man, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "There's no way that this could be bad because it's a DC Comics show, and either they're gonna cut away, or what I expected to happen was Sebastian like grabs the scissors, and he's like, "Whew, what a close one! What were you about to do?" But no, it was like zoomed in with the scissor arm going into the eyeball and like stuff flowing out, and I was just like, "Oh."
They even got the color correct of the fluid that would come out if you penetrated your eye. It
How do
wasn't
you know
like
that? How do you know
it,
that, sir? Do you got
because
something to tell us?
yeah. I've Shh, it's quiet, Ted. We're live. Um, but it wasn't like blood. It was like this white, like silvery looking liquid. It was a visceral scene. And again, Ted, we're both big scary movie fans. That was Saw level cringe. Not cringe like bad, but like ooh,
Yeah, it made
It was Saw level gore.
it gave you chills. Like I've not seen that in a really long time in any sort of show or movie. And usually when you do see it, like a scary movie or something, like somebody stabbing themselves in the eye, it's
Yeah,
just it's from a distance. You're like not that bad because it's like way over there. But no, this was a close up when they did it. Like, they're really getting their money's worth. I mean, this isn't on network TV, so it's not rated or anything like that. But man, crazy they did that. It was insane.
it was
Uh,
gritty.
Legacy Nerd says the Superboy scene at the end was sweet. The slow motion and the music was a nice touch. Yes, especially the look on his face when he's like looking at. I don't even know who this chick's name is, but he's looking at this woman and he's just like, "Ah, stop what you're doing, like I'm here, da, 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 da," and he grabs Sebastian and yanks him out of there. Rick Kane's in the chat says, "I'm still sorry I haven't watched Andor. It's all good, Rick. You're very busy collecting your jerseys. We understand, sir. No apology necessary." If you ask me, this was a good Titans episode in the sense that the story is being pushed a little bit. I got a little worried because why? Everybody got separated, right? Like Nightwing went off with Corey, Raven went off with Beast Boy, and then Connor's just doing his own thing, Mr. Detective. He's actually doing all the legwork that everybody else should be doing. So I'm just like, I hope this isn't a thing where they go their separate ways and they stay that way for a few episodes because that's when things start getting really problematic for me. But lo and behold, they all came back by the end of the episode, and I think we're okay. I think we're fine. We want this team to do team stuff together, not just go off and get in trouble on their own. So hopefully that's not a thing. They name dropped a couple of folks. Name dropped Constantine. Name dropped Constantine. It doesn't mean they're going to bring him on the show, but at least we know. We know that there is a Constantine in this universe. And they also name dropped Two Face. So a couple of big name characters from the DC Comics universe. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
Rick Kane says, I'm also sorry I haven't watched the Titans. And yes, I'm still collecting jerseys, by the way. We know. We know. You're going to open your uh, jersey museum soon, right, Rick? One day we'll get VIP tickets. Let us know. Kenobi says, Constantine, I'm ready.
You must
Absolutely.
start convo on that. But
Yeah.
I like seeing Tim Drake finally getting into some act. So you know, um, he's finally allowed. Dick Grayson lets him train and says, "Okay, cool." So they put him up against Superman in this VR training thing. Not Superman, Superboy, and he's just whacking at him. You know, with it's just like, come on, this isn't like training. First of all, he's not going to be able to do anything to him anyway, not with a bow staff.
No.
They could have done that outside of VR. They didn't even have to be in VR to do that scene. They could have just done it right. So I was hoping to actually see when they had it all set up, like kind of let him maybe send out some regular folks for him to try to take out, let him use his bow staff a little bit. I want to see more development in that character. But again, like you said, um, we just found out about him at the end of season 3. So he's still got a little bit of time for me, but it was cute that Dick allowed him to do a little bit of training this episode.
Legacy Nerd says, I like that Star Labs guy also. I feel he's going to be a key to some cool cameos or something. I'm going to get to that in a second. But Jinx. Jinx was a cool character. And we also find out that Grayson gets around, man. Like, who hasn't this guy been with? He's name dropped some heroes from the past. Dude dated Donna. Now he's dating villains. Like, what's up with Grayson? Oh man, he's like James Bond. At least Bruce like limited himself. Selena. Um, there's probably a few others in there that I'm thinking of right now. But Grayson gets around. Yeah, that's gonna be trouble.
But I mean, in this continuum, in this timeline, by the Bruce Wayne got around. Bruce Wayne
Probably.
definitely got around. You know what I mean? He was at the even in the what was it, the Dark Knight, where you had the ballerinas and they were all swimming and thing. So
Ah,
Dick Grayson has the advantage on Bruce here of being young and also into his superhero self as well. Where Bruce kind of came into it later in life, as far as this timeline is concerned, I think, and
yeah.
so I think he's living it up. He's rich as hell. He's super powerful. Well, I mean, Bruce is rich, but so is he. He's super powerful. He's a good looking dude, and he's out here, proving that just because I don't have superpowers doesn't mean I don't lay the super pipe. You know what I'm saying? And so he's just going at it, and I respect that about Dick. I like him. I mean, his name is Dick. That's his first name.
Richard Grayson, ladies and gentlemen, the Nightwing.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So, anyways,
Getting back to when they first get up to the Bloodhaven prison, he walks up to the warden. Is he still using his police credentials to talk to this inmate Jinx, or is he using his like Nightwing calling card? Does everybody freaking know who this guy is now? I know we kind of mentioned it last week. I think either Legacy Nerd or somebody mentioned it last week. Does everybody know his identity? And I was like, I don't think so. But now I'm like, you might be right. I think like he doesn't seem like he's all that concerned with walking around. I mean, everybody knows who Corey is, right? Everybody knows who Starfire is.
yeah,
Everybody for sure knew who Jason was because he was all over like news media talking about the Titans are back, bitches. And so I think the Titans are a little bit more popular than any other superhero group out there. So is Grayson being at all careful with his identity? I don't know if they're going to touch on that or not. I feel like he's just going to go about doing what he needs to do and not really making that a focal point of the show. But yeah, it is interesting because that was the first time when I'm just like, are you still using your police credentials to talk to this inmate, or how are you making this happen? This is a metahuman you're talking about. Like, you shouldn't be able to just get whoever you want out of prison to talk to them if they're a metahuman. Also, why are they bringing them out of the prison for you to interview them? Shouldn't that be done inside, like Hannibal Lecter style, behind a glass? It just feels like that's what should have happened. Legacy Nerd says Nightwing's juices are flowing, and Joe says just send some stars to Maddie to crush a beer can on his head. Ooh, oh. I hope it was a lot of stars for that. I'm just kidding. I appreciate that, Joe. Appreciate that a lot, man. Going back to what Legacy Nerd said, the Star Labs guy. I don't know if I'm looking too much into this. Legacy, maybe you kind of caught this too or not, but he's talking to Connor and he mentioned they're talking about something, I forget what, but then the Star Labs guy says it was either I was like a demented walking hermit crab, a demented hermit crab or something. And I know this is probably walking way much or just reaching for this, but when the two security guards were killed, they looked like they were killed by some type of crab. Like it was the blood taking the form of an animal, possibly an insect, possibly a spider, but it looked more crab like to me. And so when the Star Labs guy says the words demented hermit crab, I was just like, is that kind of a little bit of a clue there? I don't know. Probably thinking too much into it, but I'm with you that it is he feels like he has more going on, or there's more to him going on than meets the eye. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a twist coming towards the end of the season. Maybe this guy is in leagues with the cult. I could see that happening. He feels like a much bigger character than just some like supporting role in the background Star Labs tech guy. So yeah, we've seen him too much now so far in the season for him to just not lead to something else. Or maybe he dies. We'll see. Maybe he'll be one of the guys that falls towards the season. Lexi says, yeah, he may. He doesn't seem like a throwaway character. They're giving him a lot of time. You know what he looks like and he talks like? He talks like the guy from not Criminal Minds, Mindhunter, the Netflix series. I know you and Matt, you and I have talked about it before off the show, but Mindhunter, and I know it's not the same guy, but he has that same sort of attitude, that same sort of energy. That they kind of speak the same way, and yeah, it feels like there's more to him than meets the eye. But that was our discussion on Titans. Let us know what you guys thought. Give us your theories. Give us your theories in the comments. Or if you're listening to us on the podcast version of this episode, you can always email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntothegeekcast.com. Maddie, any theories going forward?
Um, Not yet. I honestly, because I've all the things that I had in my head in the first episode, I thought, okay, well, we got Lex going through things, and now Lex is out of the picture at least for now. I don't know if I actually believe that he's gone. Then we have, this the red and this thing that Beast Boy is dealing with. Something's coming at him from over there. I don't know. And when it comes to this, the Star Labs guy, he could be. eventually he might lead us into who it is, or he could just be the Alpha Five of the team. The you know what I mean? Not quite a Zordon, but he's just sort of there to help facilitate the team. You know, everybody needs an Alfred type character or that sort of thing. So I honestly don't know. I need probably about another episode or two to kind of flesh out kind of where I think it's going. I don't really have anything yet.
No worries, no worries. I think they're progressing the story at a faster rate than they were in previous seasons, what I think is a good thing. Hopefully, that energy and that velocity keeps moving that much forward. I mean, like Legacy Nerd called out, even just that last scene of Connor breaking through the wall, like really cool. We don't get a lot of stuff like this. So the Nightwing fight scene, Connor breaking through the wall in super speed, slow motion, all good stuff that I feel like we've been missing. We've been doing a lot of expected things in seasons past, and now they're doing things that are a little bit more unexpected, which I'm really starting to appreciate. Hopefully, we get a lot more of it. All right, that was our Titans talk, and I know we're going to move on to something that everybody wants to talk about, especially Joe. Andor, episode 10, titled "One Way Out." Hopefully, you guys had a chance to see it. It was the prison breakout episode. I'm going to do a quick summary, and it goes a little something like this. Mon Mothma meets with Davo Skolden to help with money making moves. Wait, what? Help with making money moves, but his price to help is a little steep. A proposed marriage between his son and her daughter. Kino and Cassian drop the bomb to their cell block that no one leaves ever. They put a plan into play to escape when a new prisoner arrives, beating guards and unlocking doors to more floors to give freedom to all other levels. They eventually make it to the top of the structure and they must dive and swim to their freedom. At the end of this episode, we find Luthen meeting with one of his best assets who wants out of the spy game, but Luthen won't take no for an answer. Episode 10, No Way Out, the prison break scene. Matty B, your thoughts on it, sir?
I thought it was awesome. It was exactly what I was hoping for because I like Andor, but a lot of the critics of Andor, say it's slow and all this stuff. There's a lot of setup episodes, and I really liked the last episode. But I had heard from a lot of folks that they felt it was a little slow. But I was like, hold on, because it's going to happen in this next episode, and it did, and I'm glad that it did. Um, and we really get to see Cassian again, kind of being the benefit of kind of holding back. So Cassian decides this is one of my problems with Cassian, and I like Andor and everything, but he always he sort of weasels his way out of things. So everybody is on the front line. There's prisoners getting blasters put through them. They're throwing wrenches and everything they can at the guards at the top and all of these things. And so it's just he's just kind of hanging on to this thing the whole time.
He was
And
he was
then
waiting for the moment to strike.
I know, but anybody else could have done that too. And then he swoops up at the moment to strike, and then of course he gets out of there. He's still very selfish in it for himself. He helps people accidentally, and that's part of his hero's journey because he's like, I have to save myself, and I can't do it alone. But he still doesn't really give a crap about anybody around him a little bit, and that changes. Obviously, we see him really take a heroic arc in Rogue One, so we know where that goes. I was kind of hoping that maybe he would pull off a little bit more of heroics instead of just escaping. Um, but I really like the scene with Mon Mothma. She has to meet up with Davo and try to get this shady business deal across. And she's sitting there, sort of awkward. She's sitting very weird. Her body language is not. She's not comfortable with this situation. Her palms are flat on the couch. There's a lot of space between them. It's clearly not a friendly situation per se. So they're kind of feeling each other out. And then she gets this proposition from him for an arranged marriage, and That threw me for a loop. I really wasn't expecting that to be the case. I thought maybe he wanted like some political leverage or something, which this is, I guess.
You
But
kind of get, yeah.
yeah, but I thought it was going to be something a little bit more simple than that. I was not expecting at all for this um, arranged marriage, and she sort of swiftly moves him out of there. We're not done with that. I don't think Davo
No.
he's not taking no for an answer on this one, and so I think that he's gonna blackmail her. Obviously, right? That's what we think is probably going to come. That he's gonna try to get this arranged marriage one way or the other. Because now he's like, look, I know everything about you. You sort of rudely dismissed me from your house, which she didn't. It wasn't rude, but he would have taken it that way. And he's going to try to now say, hey, well, do you want me to just divulge all this information out there? Maybe just talk to me about it again. I think that we'll keep seeing that. The swim out scene was cool. And then the Imperial Mole. The scene at the end was amazing, and
Yes.
it was high tension. We're sitting in the elevator. Luthen stops it, and he's just giving him this like monologue. Basically, I mean, it was kind of a conversation, but it was almost just a monologue, really, um, and just giving him the business. And then, I mean, it was. I thought this episode was incredible. This episode had everything in it that people who tell you to watch Andor are talking about. This episode had every single piece of that. And again, I said that this show reads like a book more than it watches like a TV show. And this is one of those parts of the book where after you get through a couple of chapters, like this is the payoff of all
Yep.
the time you spent reading up to that point. And so I loved it. I thought it was definitely a 9 out of 10 for me. This episode, I loved it.
I would agree with you, sir. Legacy Nerd says they were joining their houses for the Iron Throne. It definitely was like a Game of Thrones sort of subplot here. And you're right. Like, this can't go away. I'm actually of the mindset that, Mon Mothma has been kind of talking to Luthen about all of the risks he's willing to take. Like, nothing is not worth their success. He's willing to sacrifice whoever, whenever, for the greater good, right?
Hmm.
Now, is she willing to do the same? Is she willing to put her own family up for sale in order to accomplish this goal, which seems like it's above all else? Are you going to put your family before your duty? Is she willing to do that? I feel like she's going to have to, because in her mind, she has to either be all in, or what's the point? And all in might mean handing over your daughter in this marriage proposal situation. It sounds crazy, but like, are you trying to save the galaxy or not? Is the galaxy worth your daughter's hand in marriage? That's the huge question. It's crazy. Um, Kenobi says Mon did a really good job at setting up the tension, and yes, Luthen's speech is incredible. I will also call out Kino's speech. Kino's speech to
Oh yeah.
the entire structure, all the levels, all the prisoners in this prison. His was incredible. That's why they brought Andy Serkis into this for this scene. I promise you, they had this scene in mind, and they were like, "Who can kill this speech at this moment?" And they're like, "Oh, Andy Serkis.
You will
That's
never
your
have a better
choice."
chance at this. It was great.
It was fantastic, and I like Cassian being the hype man. He's like, "Do better, come on, do better."
He was
Like,
like
he was just egging him on. It was great.
he was DJ Khaled in the back. Keep going. Another one.
Yeah, so good. Legacy Nerd says the Luthen monologue was seriously 10 out of 10. Absolutely. So strong, so brave. I like that he says, it's interesting because we've had this sort of situation come up recently in two occasions. We heard this asset of his saying like, I got a family, I got stuff going on, like I'm sacrificing everything. What are you sacrificing? And Luthen lays it on him like, I've sacrificed everything. Like, you have no idea. This is a very similar speech, which they're not related or one stolen in any sort of way. But Queen Ramunda from Wakanda Forever, she had a speech where she's talking to Okoye, and Okoye is like, what have I lost? What have I sacrificed for this kingdom? Because, well, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but there's a kind of an argument between Okoye and Queen Ramunda where they're talking about what they've sacrificed. And the queen's like, I've sacrificed more than anyone. Don't you come at me with that nonsense. And so it reminds me of what Kino was talking about. Not Kino, Luthen was talking about in his speech to his spy asset about comparing what they've both sacrificed. This was an awesome episode. Loved it, and I think we have confirmation from multiple sources that Kino is still alive. He didn't just like not jump off and gets captured or gets killed. I think enough people have already reported that yes, he's still out there, and we'll probably see him again in a future episode. Kenobi, go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think some people just assume that he either didn't jump or he somehow didn't survive after the episode because they kind of just left it open. And I'm like, well, you wouldn't assume that unless you saw him die. Like that's the rule of thumb in the Star Wars universe or any universe for that matter. You got to see a body. So if you
I
don't
agree.
see him, I don't know why you would assume that he sort of died at the end of this episode. He's alive in somewhat well condition, and we'll probably see him in a future episode.
Absolutely. And I completely glossed over that. It was it was incredible, and it was a tense scene. I had a feeling the whole time that they were going to get out of it. I wasn't really in doubt of that. I just didn't know how or what was going on. And he was just like, "I'm getting everybody out of here. This is you'll never get a better chance than this." And I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Jenna Kenobi says, "Well, what the director said, I didn't see him die in episode 10." Yeah, absolutely. If you don't see it happening, then he's still alive.
But he can't
So
swim, right?
yeah, more
He
than
can't
likely
swim.
we will see him again. He said, "I don't know how to swim. I don't understand why you don't jump anyways and just like grab onto somebody who you just saved. You saved the entire prison. Like you can't get a couple of guys to like drag you while they swim to land. Like I feel like this is a no-brainer, but anyways, beautiful shot of this structure afterwards. Yeah. All in all, great episode and two more.
It's
Here
very
we go.
imperial. I
Very
mean,
imperial.
it's so they've done such a good job with um, their large shots in this show. This is just another example of it. That's beautiful. I mean, you can almost frame. I mean, literally, you could almost frame that. It'd be just a cool picture to have. They've done such a good job filming this show.
Kenobi says, "Yeah, there's 4,999 other guys that could have helped him." Yeah, exactly. If I'm Kino, I'm like, look, all you guys, y'all owe me. I was the voice on the loudspeaker. Like, y'all need to just. I'm gonna get on your back. Y'all are gonna swim, and we're gonna do it like that. Um, theories going forward. They're out of the prison now. We got 2 episodes left. So what are the theories? What are they focusing on here? My thought is that Vel might be close to locating Cassian. We if we go back a few episodes, Luthen ordered her to kill Cassian. He's a loose end. We don't need him talking. We don't need him, giving me up to anyone. So I think that we will find Vel getting close to finding Cassian. They still have people watching his mom's house. He might actually go back to go find his mom and be like, "Hey, look, I tried to live a happy life on South Beach. It didn't work out, so I need to find another place to lie low or something." And that might actually be the time where he gets spotted. And I think those are Vel's people, right? Or those ISB. Can't remember now. It might be ISB. But I think Vel's going to get close to finding Cassian, and we're going to get that sort of really dramatic tension between the two. Like they want him dead, and we know it's not going to happen. But it, how does he get out of this? Maybe he needs to promise to do another job for them or something. Like he needs to get away out of it. And also, I think Luthen, he needs to probably get into some trouble of his own. Maybe his asset gets uncovered or discovered. I don't know. Something happens to his asset in the ISB. That could be a thing. But we got 2 episodes left for this first season. Matty B, theories on what we might see.
Well, the name Cassian Andor is ringing pretty loud in the ears of Cyril and Miro. We can't get lost from that. I mean, Cyril is absolutely obsessed with finding Andor. Actually, if we didn't know Andor's eventual fate, which we do because of Rogue One, but let's say Rogue One, we hadn't seen Rogue One, and this is the first time we're being introduced to this character. One of the safest places for him to be was in that prison because if he wanted to be alive, because they didn't know that it was him. And so he's being hunted out in the real world. So I think we're definitely going to deal with that a little bit. And wasn't he looking for his sister or something?
I'm thinking they're gonna give up that subplot. That's how we
We haven't
started
heard
this
anything
story.
about that. Yeah.
No, and
Um,
he's been out. Like he's been out. He had money. He could have continued his search of her, and it didn't happen. So I'm kind of thinking they want us to forget that was a thing.
or it could be a blackmail situation where he's off now. Like, let's say he swims off to shore and he's doing his thing. And then he gets a call from his mom saying, your sister's here. Um, but it's really her being threatened to lure him back. But she's such a rebel herself. I don't know if she would get caught into that, but I feel like maybe that's a potential play to pull his heartstrings at some point for the Empire to manipulate him back to them. Um, but I'm not sure. I don't know. This show throws me for a loop sometimes when I think I have it all figured out. So I don't know, but I know that Cyril is not giving up, and I know that Miro. And is there like some sexual tension there? Obviously, I think like, or is it Cyril just being like really obsessed with Cassian and wanting to find him, and knowing that Miro gave him a chance, and he's just so blinded by that that he doesn't realize that he's coming off super heavy obsessed with her. But the way she was looking, she seemed kind of off put by that interaction, but also kind of surprised that somebody was noticing her. I don't know. We'll see. Something like that's. We'll see how that plays out. I don't know if Kenobi or Legacy have a thought about that, but I'm not sure.
Here's the
We'll
thing
see.
about the sister. I want to say I'm like 65% sure that Cassian is probably not his birth name. I don't know if I'm right about that. I want to say I'm like 65% sure. Cassian Andor might not actually be his birth name. And he hasn't seen his sister since he was 8, 9. How old was he in those flashbacks? What do you think?
I I don't know, Ted.
And
I don't.
so my only reason for bringing that up is that how would the sister know that this guy on all these wanted posters is her brother if they haven't seen each other in 20, 25, well, let's just say 20 years. 20 years, 15, 20 years they haven't seen each other. Does the sister actually recognize him? Cassian's face is plastered all over Imperial security videos or, news propaganda videos saying we're looking for this man from the planet they keep saying the planet he's from, right? I think it's a thing. So maybe that's one way she kind of puts two and two together. So yeah, you might be onto something. You might be onto something. The sister
Who
might come
knows?
into, yeah. There you go.
I don't know.
General Kenobi says Cyril has a mommy complex and he's projecting. LOL. I agree. That's a thing. Awesome. Well, look, 2 episodes left. I'm sure they have a great little cliffhanger for us, right? It's got to end on a cliffhanger, if you will. Perhaps a capture, maybe Luthen. Ooh, that could be a thing. Luthen, Vel get captured. Maybe Vel finds Cassian. She's like, I gotta take you out, man. And then the ISB actually find Vel. She gets captured. Cassian has to go to Luthen to tell him what happened, and Luthen's gonna be like, all right, well, let's go get her, even though he knows that all of these people are expendable, in in so many words, they're expendable to the cause. But maybe he has a little bit of a warm place in his heart for Vel, and they go to rescue her in season 2. That could be it, by the way.
Yeah. And General
Uh,
Kenobi has a good point here, saying 2 free episodes, by the way. And I think I saw something about that too, where they're releasing these episodes on Hulu and I think another platform potentially.
I
And you'll
think I
be
heard
able to,
FX.
yeah, it's going to be on actual TV too. But what does that say about the streaming? Do you think they're not happy with the amount of people watching the show? Or that they're scared that the paywall of Disney Plus is keeping potential fans who may not even be Star Wars fans from seeing the show and maybe bringing them in. I mean, it's kind of weird. I don't know if I've ever seen this before. A streaming platform saying, "Hey, we're going to put this on actual TV, ABC, FX, Freeform, and Hulu, and Disney Plus." Is that a little bit like I don't know? Is it begging?
You know what it could be? And this is my theory here. I am part of the original Disney Plus streaming subscribers that opted in for the 3-year plan. 3 years, paid all at once, didn't have to worry about payments or anything. And it was only like $150 maybe for the 3 years. And I'm like, that's a steal. I'll take that. I'll take that. All the Marvel movies, Star Wars movies, at a
Yeah.
click of a button, I'm taking that. And here's the thing: that 3 year, that 3 year subscription service just ended like 2 weeks ago. So they might have had a huge chunk of subscribers that just fell off at the moment. And if you're like me, I haven't renewed. I'm kind of trying to find the best plan right now for myself. I know that there's some Hulu ESPN plans out there that I might look into,
That's what I have.
but
Yeah.
perhaps they had a huge chunk of people that were on this 3-year plan who aren't necessarily in a rush to jump back into it. So they're probably trying to get out there and promote a little bit. Yeah, throw out some free episodes and go check them out on network TV, cable TV. Yeah, that could be it.
But it
Yeah.
also leads me to believe that they're going to be epic because you're not going to put one of your slow burn episodes there and have everyone confirm the rumors of it being boring. Because like all the haters are just saying, "Hey, it's boring. It's a really slow burn. All this stuff." And so I think that in order to prove it to people who don't want to pay for that subscription, like you said, they're going to put 2 bangers on TV and say, "Hey, here's what we got." So I hope that that's the case, that they just really knock it out of the park, grand slam, 2 episodes, and it should be awesome. I've never seen this before. So it's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how it pays off.
And Legacy Nerd says that's drug dealing 101. Give them a taste, make them pay for more. Yep, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
But you would do that with the
Uh,
premiere or the second episode. So then they're tuning into the whole season.
don't you
To
think that's what they're gonna do though?
Yeah, but they're doing it backwards on this way. So they're saying, "Hey, here's the end. Go back and watch the beginning." Which is a really weird way to do it because it's like, well, why would I watch the beginning? I already know what happens at the end. So you would expect if this strategy was what they wanted to do, they would have went in episodes 1 through 3 like they did with us. Give us that 3 episode drop on those cable networks, and then say, now come back and get some more. To tell people the end who may not have ever even seen the beginning is a little odd to me.
Well, everybody's reporting it is the first 2 episodes after all.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, so
you
they're
are
not.
correct.
I thought they were. I thought they were showing the finale episodes. So they're just showing episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay,
So what you
I
said,
I had that confused for sure.
yeah, but what you said made sense. It would make sense that they would show the first two episodes. That way, they would get into it, then
Mhm.
subscribe, watch the rest, and that's exactly what they're doing. So Andor, 2 episodes left. And if you don't have the Disney Plus streaming service, we just spoiled episode 10 for you, and you have an opportunity to watch the first 2 episodes with those dates and channels we just showed you. So check that out. Those drop in a week, a little over a week, and I'm excited. This has been a very pleasant surprise. I knew I was going to be into it. I am excited. I like the longevity of the story. I like that we're getting all this character development. I like that we're getting all these really awesome characters and actors like Andy Serkis and into this series. It's exciting. I can't wait to see how they finish it. They have to finish it on a high. It's got to be a cliffhanger. I'm gonna go with one of these characters, probably Vel getting captured, and then them having to go rescue. Hey, maybe Bix. Bix could be a thing. Maybe Bix is
Yeah.
still in trouble, and Cassian finally gets word. He's like, "Hey, she's my ex. She's a little crazy, but yeah, that's gonna be a thing." Whew. All right, Andor. We want to hear from you guys. What did you think about episode 10? Drop it in the comments below, or if you're listening to us on the podcast version of this episode, you can always email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntothegeekcast.com. Um, 2 things we're going to talk about, and one's going to be about you real quick, and then you already know what the second one's going to be. But Maddie,
I can't. I can't. I can't reveal it yet.
you can't? The hat?
No, paperwork has not been signed, so I can't publicly talk about the Easter egg
All right.
until I might be able to release it Wednesday this week, and I might be able to do it Monday next week. But I just got confirmation from concerned parties that I have to withhold that information from a live platform until papers are signed.
You're crazy. Okay, no worries then. No worries. That's fine. This last topic is a bit of a somber one, and I'm sure a lot of you folks kind of expected this. But over the weekend, everybody was in mourning because one of our biggest heroes of all time in the voice acting community in the DC Comics universe passed. Kevin Conroy, who was the voice of Bruce Wayne and Batman, not only in the original animated series, but a number of projects ranging from video games to short films. Mask of the Phantasm, as an example, he had passed, and he had a people call it a short battle with cancer. Is what they were reporting. Um, all in all, it's extremely sad because he meant so much to so many people. Um, I grew up, watching these cartoons. You grew up watching these cartoons. At the time, it wasn't just a TV show. It was part of your life. Like this was the biggest thing out there, and it perfectly fit into your superhero and comic book needs growing up as a kid. And it was perfect. Paul Dini wrote the best stories, and you had the best voice for Bruce Wayne and Batman in one person. He pulled off the best versions of both, and he could flip it on and off like a switch. And he had an incredible cast around him. He had Mark Hamill, who was the perfect uh, complement to his Batman, and Mark voiced the Joker. Um, Kevin Conroy, I met once, long time ago, at a convention here in town. The sweetest guy. Um, Shook his hand, told him how much he meant to me, took a photo with him. I'm sure everybody else, if you have a story about your time meeting Kevin Conroy, let us know. Let us know in the comments, either what your own personal favorite memory of him was, or maybe just what your favorite episode of the animated series was. But we all want to just let his family, his friends, his fans know that we are all thinking about you all. Um, our thoughts are with you. And coming from Mark Hamill himself, who said this on Twitter, he said, he really wants to be sad about his friend passing, but he also knows that Kevin wouldn't have wanted it that way. That he didn't want to make anybody feel sad or not happy in any sort of way. So if anything, I think that we're always going to have the great memories. The best voice, one of the biggest, most recognizable voices in all of voice acting, um, Kevin Conroy. Do you have anything you want to say, Maddie?
Oh, of course. I mean, he played the character for 30 years. It's, I mean, he is Batman. We spent a lot of time on these shows, especially recently, talking about studios and actors and producers and directors and what direction things are going to go. Kevin Conroy was our rock through all of that for 30 years. He is Batman, and he was always Batman. And no one ever thought any differently about the Mask of the Phantasm, which his first endeavor into Batman is widely considered as one of the greatest Batman properties of all time. And I would consider it, I mean, this is a biased opinion. To me, it's one of the best movies of all time, animated films of all time. It is absolutely incredible. I love that movie, and like you said, his flip back and forth between Bruce Wayne and Batman. As a kid, you would have never been able to tell me that was the same person playing those voices, and we still have a little bit of work to come from him. So Batman the Cape Crusader TV series, which is filming right now, I don't know what they're going to do with that. It releases in 2023. I don't know how far he's gotten into that, or where that's going to go. I would love to see that show come out, and I think it's going to get some of the best ratings that they could have even imagined, because I think people will be tuning back in for the last time that they could hear him play a role. So I'm going to keep eyes on that Batman the Cape Crusader TV series. Um, but he's an amazing person. I have seen him at a few cons. His line was always really long, and I was always like, "Oh, well, I'll be able to go back to him." I always had something else to go see, or someone else that I thought was more important. And then losing him today, I was like, "Man, all those times that I thought that something else was more important, I should have stopped by and paid the respects to the guy, gave him his flowers, and gotten an autograph from him." So I'm definitely devastated by it. Batman's my favorite superhero, and I he was there for me every single day. No other Batman, no movie Batman, nothing. Nobody was there for me every single day. But Kevin Conroy was when I was growing up. So I love him, and obviously rest in peace.
He's also voicing Batman on the Multiverses video game, which is a lot like Super Smash Brothers, kind
Hmm.
of that genre. And you're right, he's a voice of Batman in the Cape Crusader series, which will be out next year.
Yeah,
Um, Actually, it lists him as Thomas Wayne. I wonder if he's Thomas and Bruce. I don't know. We'll see.
for sure.
He's probably Bruce as well. But the last thing I want to say about Kevin is that it meant the world to him that back 3 years ago in 2019, he got to play Bruce in live action form during the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover event on the CW
In the Arrowverse, yeah,
in the Arrowverse.
he had the suit, the bionic suit to keep him up.
Yeah, he was basically Batman Kingdom Come. Great photo was shared by Mark Guggenheim, who was producer in the Arrowverse. So yeah, um, man, That was incredible as a longtime fan of Kevin's to see him get to actually play the Dark Knight like on the small screen. Like it meant everything to us. It must have meant everything to him. I mean, you get to now hear the voice and see the face all at once. I mean, that's just incredible. And his story is like the darkest Batman story, arguably of all time, because
Hmm.
he was the Batman that lost everything. He was the Batman that turned heel, and it was just great. I know he loved it. I watched a lot of the behind the scenes videos, and he was just eating it all up. It was just incredible. So we say goodbye to all of our one of our friends of us all, the great Kevin Conroy. We're just going to end the show with a moment of silence and just want to say thank you, Kevin, for everything you've done for us. Good night, everybody. We will see you guys soon.
Better dudes. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy.